Welcome to the deep dive. Right now, your favorite local restaurant is fighting this silent multi-front digital
Oh,
war.
absolutely. It's constant.
Right, because while you are, effortlessly tapping reorder on your phone, expecting a hot meal at your front door in like 20 minutes, the kitchen behind the scenes is probably battling, I don't know, 5 different delivery tablets, disconnected loyalty programs, and an influx of payment fraud, all at the exact same time.
Yeah, and it is a level of operational stress that most guests just never see.
Never.
Because we've been conditioned, as consumers to expect absolute, completely frictionless convenience down to the minute. But the architectural complexity required to actually make a physical kitchen operate at the speed of the internet, it's staggering.
It really is. And well, that brings us to the topic of our deep dive today. We are taking an in-depth look at Olo, which is a major restaurant technology platform.
Massive one, yeah.
We're pulling from their official company materials, a bunch of their case studies, and their listing in the National Franchise Association directory to really understand what they do. And our mission today is to basically uncover the invisible digital machinery that bridges the gap between restaurant operators and you, the guest.
Because that gap is huge.
Exactly. We want to see how this technology turns the absolute chaos of the modern food service industry into that seamless, highly tailored experience that we all just, take for granted now. It's kind of like an iceberg,
Oh,
right?
I like that comparison.
Yeah, like as a guest, you just see the easy click of a buy button on the surface. But underneath the water, there's this massive, complex operation working frantically to keep the whole thing afloat.
That is exactly what's happening.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we even look at Olo's specific tools, we really need to establish the baseline. Like, what is actually causing this massive technological pileup in these kitchens in the first place?
Well, to understand the pain point, you have to consider how rapidly the restaurant business model just completely fractured over the last decade.
Right, it used to be so simple.
Exactly. Historically, a restaurant had a highly contained ecosystem. You had a dining room, maybe a phone for takeout, and a cash register. That was it. That was the entirety of the operation.
Yeah, you walked in, you paid, you ate.
Right. But today, that same restaurant is dealing with an absolute barrage of disconnected revenue channels. I mean, they have their own direct online ordering through their website.
Okay.
Then they have native delivery. Then they have third-party marketplace delivery apps, and there are, several of those competing simultaneously.
Uber Eats, DoorDash, all of them.
Right. Add in digitized phone orders, high-volume catering, the physical dining room itself. You have a recipe for complete disaster if those systems aren't synced.
It sounds like an orchestra where the woodwinds, the strings, and the percussion are all playing from completely different pieces of sheet music, and there's no conductor.
That's a great way to put it.
Like, if I am running that kitchen, the sheer volume of separate inputs would just break the line. Imagine the staff is just frantically running from tablet to tablet.
Oh, they are. That phenomenon is literally known in the industry as the tablet farm.
The tablet farm. Oh, wow.
Yeah, you'll walk in and see a counter with 4 or 5 different iPads, each one pinging with a different alert tone for a different service.
That sounds like a nightmare.
It is. When you force a kitchen to manage these channels through completely separate, disjointed systems, you create massive friction. The staff isn't just cooking anymore. They're basically doing data entry across multiple screens.
While the physical line out the door gets longer.
Exactly, while angry customers are staring at them.
And, I mean, beyond just the sheer stress on the staff,
Yeah.
that kind of chaos has to bleed into the finances. Because if my systems aren't talking to each other, I can't possibly be tracking my margins or my inventory accurately, right?
You can't. The financial hit is multifaceted. You lose profit margins, paying different fees to various third parties without even owning any of the customer data.
Wow, you don't even get the data.
Usually no. Plus, you face operational bottlenecks because 5 different systems are firing orders at the line cooks with no centralized pacing mechanism.
So they all just hit at once.
Right. The kitchen might get hit with 50 digital orders in the same 3-minute window, and the system doesn't know how to tell the next online customer to wait 10 extra minutes.
Oh, so the customer thinks it'll be ready, but the kitchen is already drowning.
Exactly. And perhaps the biggest hidden cost in all of this is data blindness. If a guest orders from a third-party app on Tuesday and then walks into the physical store on Thursday, A disjointed system treats them as two completely separate humans.
Oh, that's terrible. So the operator is essentially just flying blind. They're merely reacting to tickets minute by minute rather than strategically managing their actual business.
Yeah, they're in survival mode.
So the restaurant is just surviving the dinner rush rather than actually building a relationship with the customer.
Yeah.
That is a brutal way to operate. And this chaotic environment is exactly what Olo steps into.
Right.
Because they present themselves as the ultimate unified partner. In their materials, they describe themselves as an open SaaS platform, so software as a service, that powers the full guest journey. But what really jumped out at me in the National Franchise Association directory was just the sheer gravity of their operation.
It's massive. The numbers really reflect a massive enterprise-level scale. We are looking at a platform trusted by over 90,000 individual locations.
90,000.
Yeah. And more than 800 top restaurant brands across greater North America, which includes all U.S. states, territories, and Canada. They are processing millions of orders daily.
Okay, but wait. If a single tech platform is servicing 90,000 locations, and we are talking about a massive spectrum here, right? Like everything from global burger franchises to small, regional, high-end salad concepts, doesn't that force everyone into a really rigid one-size-fits-all box?
That's a valid concern.
Because if I'm a restaurant owner, my biggest fear with a massive platform is being locked into a proprietary ecosystem. Like if I hate their specific loyalty program, am I stuck with it forever?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, that fear is exactly why Olo's architecture is built as open source. They aren't building a walled garden where a brand is forced to only use Olo's proprietary tools for every single function.
Oh, okay. So it's not a closed loop.
No, instead, Olo acts as the fundamental digital infrastructure, kind of like the central nervous system. They focus heavily on integrations and APIs, like their Omnivore API and the Olo Connect ecosystem.
Let's translate that for a second for anyone not deep in tech. When we talk about an API in this context, we're essentially talking about a universal digital translator, right? It allows two completely different pieces of software to talk to each other seamlessly.
That is the perfect way to frame it, yeah. Olo provides the centralized hub and the single workflow, but their API allows a restaurant to plug in the specific tools they already use and love.
I see.
So if a brand has a highly customized loyalty app they spent millions developing, or a specific back-end accounting software, Olo's API instantly translates and routes that data.
So they give the brand the flexibility to customize the spokes of the wheel, while Olo just maintains the hub.
Exactly. It scales across 90,000 locations specifically because it adapts to the unique personality and the specific tech stack of each brand.
That structural flexibility makes a lot of sense. So if Olo is acting as this universal translator and central hub, how does that actually save the kitchen from catching fire during a Friday night rush? Let's dive into the mechanical solutions they offer, starting with the core function, getting the food out the door.
Right. The primary solution to that tablet farm nightmare we talked about is their unified order management. Oli takes direct delivery, marketplace delivery from all those competing third-party apps, and even digitized phone orders through a feature they call Switchboard.
Switchboard, okay.
And it takes all of those disparate signals and routes them into one single cohesive workflow.
So it flattens the hierarchy of the orders. The line cook doesn't need to know if the ticket originated from a website, an app, or a phone call. They just look at their existing kitchen display system, see the next ticket in the queue, and make the food.
Yes. It entirely removes that cognitive load from the staff. They cook the food in the optimal sequence based on real-time capacity, regardless of where the order came from.
Which is huge for efficiency.
It is. It also gives the operator central control over delivery dispatching, so they can manage courier handoffs and delivery costs from one dashboard, rather than fighting with 5 different tablets to see where a driver is.
Which obviously buys the kitchen time and sanity. Honestly, it's like a kitchen trying to manage all these separate systems without a unified platform is like a juggler trying to keep flaming swords in the air while blindfolded.
That is painfully accurate.
And it's not just basic orders. They also tackle the really high-value, highly complex operations like catering. They have a product called Catering Plus Aber.
Yes, catering is a whole different ballgame.
Right. Catering has always fascinated me because it is so lucrative. But structurally, it is a totally different beast than making a single sandwich for a walk-in customer.
The administrative burden of traditional catering is just immense. You are dealing with long lead times, manual credit card authorizations that might actually require physical phone calls, and complex inventory forecasting.
Yeah, you have to ensure you actually have enough product to feed 50 people next Tuesday without cannibalizing your daily stock for today.
Exactly. And Olo digitizes that entire cumbersome workflow. They simplify it with built-in controls, flexible menus, and automated scheduling.
There is a great quote in their case studies from Sean Thompson, the VP of IT at Freddy's. Do you remember that one?
Oh, Freddy's frozen custard and steak burgers, yeah.
Right. He noted that with catering plus doughs, they were able to launch quickly, drive incremental sales, and equip their team members with the tools to execute high-volume orders without creating extra work. Like they captured the most valuable tickets without breaking the kitchen's rhythm.
Which is really the holy grail for an operator, scaling revenue without linearly scaling labor.
Yes, exactly.
But the operational streamlining doesn't stop at just routing food orders. The platform goes much deeper. It tackles the financial transaction itself.
Right, Olo Pay. This mechanism really caught my attention. It is a restaurant-specific payment platform. And, I think it's important to clarify why a restaurant even needs a specific payment processor. Like, processing payments for a burrito online isn't the same as buying a sweater on an e-commerce site, is it?
Not at all. The time horizon is the critical differentiator there.
Right.
If you buy a sweater online, the merchant has 2 or 3 days to run fraud checks, verify the address, and ensure the credit card is legitimate before they ever put the item in a box.
Right, there's a buffer.
But in the restaurant industry, you have maybe 10 minutes. The moment that order drops, the kitchen starts cooking. And fraudsters know this.
So food ordering becomes a prime target for bot attacks.
A huge target. Hackers will take a list of stolen credit card numbers and just run a script to buy hundreds of small $5 food items just to quickly test which cards are active.
Oh, wow. So just rapid-fire testing.
Yep. By the time the restaurant realizes the card is stolen, the food is cold, the fraudster is gone, and the restaurant gets hit with a chargeback fee from the credit card company.
So the restaurant loses the cost of the ingredients, the labor to make it, the potential revenue from a real customer, and they pay a penalty fee on top of it. That's devastating to margins.
It's brutal. Olo Pay is engineered specifically to combat this dynamic. Because Olo sees millions of transactions across its massive network, its algorithm is highly tuned to the specific patterns of restaurant fraud.
Okay, so it learns the patterns.
Yeah, it provides secure, lightning-fast checkout that authenticates the user while aggressively filtering out bad actors before the ticket ever hits the kitchen.
So it's basically like giving a restaurant a virtual bouncer and a dedicated financial advisor, all rolled into one piece of invisible software. Keeps the bot attacks out, protects the bottom line, and lets the staff just focus on hospitality.
That's exactly what it does. And the operators in the case studies seem incredibly relieved by this. Alan Beck, the director of off-premise and catering at Costa Vida, he called Olo a true partner in operational excellence.
Yeah, I read that.
He said instead of worrying if a store's payment systems will be up and secure, he can actually focus his energy on serving guests.
And John Paul Thomas from Honeygrow echoed that exact sentiment. He said, I love this quote, "We want to be in the stir-fry and salad business, not the payment processing business."
It's so true.
He noted they saw major savings on chargeback costs, increased overall efficiency, and a higher authorization rate for legitimate transactions.
Yeah, the savings are real.
So if Olo Pay is stopping fraud,
And
the unified order management is stopping the kitchen from catching fire, the restaurant is surviving, the back end is completely stabilized.
Right.
But surviving isn't the same as growing. How does all this back-end efficiency actually translate into a reason for me, the guest, to come back? Let's look at the front-end experience.
Well, what's fascinating here is how Olo utilizes all that stabilized back-end data to engineer loyalty. The overarching goal of their platform is to make every single guest feel like a regular, automatically across every single channel.
We all know that validating feeling, right? You walk into your neighborhood coffee shop, the barista knows your face, they know you take oat milk, and they start making your order before you even reach the register.
It's the best feel.
It's a deeply human interaction. But how on earth do you automate that feeling through a piece of software?
The engine behind that feeling is their guest data platform, or GDP, working in tandem with their marketing and sentiment tools. Remember earlier when we discussed the disjointed kitchen that couldn't recognize Tuesday's app user when they walked in on Thursday?
Yes, the data blindness.
Right. Olo solves that by stitching together a unified digital profile. Because they power the entire journey, from browsing the menu to the final payment, they're collecting a rich, cohesive set of data points.
But how do they actually connect those dots if I don't go through the friction of creating a formal account with a username and password every time I order a taco. I rarely make accounts.
They look at underlying digital identifiers. They look at device IDs, Apple Pay tokens, or phone numbers. The GDP essentially builds a shadow profile of your
Oh,
preferences.
that's smart.
Yeah, they know what you order, the time of day you usually visit, whether you prefer delivery or pickup, and how much you typically spend. They centralize that intelligence and then give the restaurant the tools to act on it seamlessly.
Which leads directly to one of their most impactful features, which is passwordless checkout through Olo accounts.
Yes, exactly.
Because think about how annoying it is when you are standing outside in the cold, trying to quickly order a coffee on your phone, and the app demands you remember a password you created like 3 years ago.
I hate that.
Right. Passwordless checkout removes that exact micro frustration. It recognizes your device or sends a quick secure link, and you just breeze right through the transaction.
And that frictionless mechanism is highly valued by operators because it drastically reduces cart abandonment. Brian Pearson, the CTO of Mendocino Farms, highlighted this capability.
Oh, yeah.
He noted that Olo helps them truly understand who their guests are and how they interact with the brand by utilizing what he called exposed webhooks and APIs.
Which, again, is that digital translator instantly passing your preferences to the restaurant's marketing system.
Exactly. By using those, they can communicate with the guest in a highly relevant way.
Mark Hardison, the CMO of California Fish Grill, took it a step further. He said Olo helps them deliver tailored communications to offer hospitality at scale without losing the authenticity.
That's the dream.
Okay, so what does this all mean? I have to pose a slightly philosophical question here.
Sure.
How does a brand actually deliver hospitality through a screen? If I get an automated text message that says, hey, we know you love our spicy tuna roll, here's a seamless link to order it right now, no passwords required, is that genuinely hospitality? Or is it just really, really sophisticated coupon targeting?
That's a great question.
Like, is a frictionless digital checkout really the modern equivalent of a maitre d' knowing your name?
Well, that tension is at the absolute center of modern retail and food service right now. In a digital-first environment, friction is the direct opposite of hospitality.
Okay, I see that.
If you look back at the traditional maitre d', their primary function was to remove friction from your evening. They bypassed the physical line for you. They memorized your table preference. They remembered your shellfish allergy so you didn't have to awkwardly explain it to a brand new server.
They smoothed out the physical experience.
Yes.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. The maitre d' was essentially the original human version of passwordless checkout.
Exactly. They were the interface that held your data. Now, obviously, a push notification on your phone lacks the warmth of a human smile. But functionally, anticipating a guest's needs, remembering their highly specific preferences, and valuing their limited time by making the transaction completely effortless, that is a profound form of hospitality.
It really is.
It signals to the guest that the brand values the relationship enough to remember them and cater to them seamlessly.
And taking that step further, if the technology is quietly handling all the mundane administration, remembering the order history, verifying the credit card, pacing the kitchen, it actually frees up the human staff in the physical store.
Yes, absolutely.
They aren't staring down at a broken tablet or stressing about a lost ticket. They actually have the bandwidth to look up, offer a genuine smile, and provide real human interaction when the guest walks in to grab their bag.
The technology manages the data complexity so the humans can return to managing the hospitality. It is a highly symbiotic relationship when it's executed correctly.
It really brings the entire ecosystem into focus.
Yeah.
And I think the ultimate takeaway here is Olo's core mission. They exist to extract the friction from the restaurant industry, delivering tailored, high-quality service and a completely stress-free experience for everyone involved.
Yeah, they really are the ultimate bridge.
They are. On one side, you have the operators who are just desperate for efficiency, unified workflows, and protected margins. And on the other side, you have you, the guest, who simply wants seamless, intuitive, and personalized service. Olo is the invisible infrastructure making that connection possible.
It is a massive, complex undertaking. But when the architecture works, it entirely transforms the operational reality and the financial trajectory of a restaurant brand.
It fundamentally changes the game. So, to you listening right now, the next time you order food on your phone and you breeze through that passwordless checkout, or you receive a perfectly timed, highly personalized offer for your go-to meal, just remember, you aren't just tapping a simple button. You are interacting with a massive invisible SaaS platform that is working incredibly hard behind the scenes just to make you feel like a regular.
It is a profound shift in how localized businesses operate at scale. And, it leaves me with one final thought to ponder.
Let's hear it.
If this kind of integrated digital architecture can successfully automate the deeply human feeling of being a regular at a neighborhood restaurant, what other traditional relationship-based experiences in our daily lives are about to be quietly engineered by an invisible digital platform?
Wow. Now that is a thought to chew on. Until next time.